Hello everybody, good afternoon, welcome to the United Stand. This is your Manchester United press conference reaction. Erik ten Hag speaking to the press ahead of FC Omonia's visit in the Europa League tomorrow night. Lots to get into. I suppose the overarching story here is probably the fact that I think we're hurtling towards out of options, is what I would say. I think that we spoke about this many a time on the channel, haven't we? That I don't want to say just me. I think a lot of you as well would agree that we don't really have that many big options in numerous positions. And Ten Hag was asked about that, about rotation and his squad options. But the first thing we're going to talk about is injuries, because I tell you what, there's just something really weird going on with Manchester United at the moment, isn't there? There's something really, really weird about how... Well, look, I'll tell you what he said. He was asked about injuries and basically said that Anthony Martial's not training. We'll have to see if he's available for Sunday. Harry Maguire's out, and I think he's out of Sunday as well, which is what we expected. I don't think we're expecting Maguire back in training till next week. Van der Beek and Aaron Wan-Bissaka are long-term injury problems. Now, I actually put Van der Beek in my lineup for this game tomorrow night, and he is now a long-term injury problem. I find it really frustrating, and it's a waste of energy to get frustrated on injuries, because it's like getting frustrated about Martial being injured, and he was asked about Martial, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the Donny van der Beek thing is now becoming an irritant. I think that we've spent a long time wanting Donny van der Beek to be successful at Manchester United, and then we get a manager that could potentially give him the opportunity to do that. And he's been injured nearly all of the season, and I don't even know why he's injured. I mean, has he played? I don't understand why he's injured. Like, I don't understand why Wan-Bissaka's injured either. So, it's just weird. There is something very... And I'm not talking about Ten Hag here, or Rangnick, or Solskjaer, or Mourinho, or Van Gaal. This has been going on probably since the back end of Sir Alex Ferguson's reign at Man United, where around this time of year, even if you go back to Sir Alex, around this time of year, October, Man United pick up injuries, and you're asking a question. You're asking the question: where are they picking them up from, and why is it happening so frequently? So Donny van der Beek and Aaron Wan-Bissaka are longer term injury problems. They've been injured already for about probably 2 months. Why are they injured, and how long for? I know you can get injured in training, but it's just weird. I find it really, really weird, and especially in the case of Donny van der Beek. I mean, like he could have started 3 or 4 games by now, every Europa League game, and the World Cup. We're breaking up for the World Cup in a month. I think it's the 12th of November, and it's the 12th of October today. So in a month we break up for the World Cup, and then we don't play a game until the 26th of December. And then the transfer window opens 5 days later. So, I mean, is that it now? Is Donny van der Beek basically finished at Manchester United? I mean, never say never, but if you're not going to play any games before this World Cup break, it's just weird. And also, the more important thing, I suppose, is he now injury prone? Because he went on loan to Everton, and I think he was injured twice there. He's injured again. So not only have we bought a player that Solskjaer didn't even want to play, has he now become injury prone at Manchester United? It's disappointing. Hi Mark, how are you? Hope we can get Glazers out and then maybe a statement signing like Jude or Mbappe, says Zach. And Mark, I feel sorry for Donny. It's just not meant to be, says Mikael Roach. It was massively disappointing. Massively disappointing. So the injury updates are: Martial is out of the game tomorrow, Maguire's out of the game tomorrow and on Sunday, and Van der Beek and Wan-Bissaka are longer term injury problems, which presents its own problem, because he was then asked about Deleu's playing a lot of games. You don't appear to have a backup. And to which Erik laughed and said, well, I've got Victor Lindelof next to me. He can play at right back. And he was keen to suggest that there are options that can play at right back. I don't know. I personally think that... do you think it's the equivalent of maybe pulling a sickie, says Josh? I don't know. And I'm actually glad that you've asked that. I don't know. I mean, Brandon Williams, Twan Sebi, Wan-Bissaka, Donny van der Beek, all 4 of those players have been injured, and well, obviously Phil Jones, all 4 of those players have been injured for a long time. And we've got no real update on what their injuries are or how they got those injuries, and and when they're going to be back. But that's 4 players too many. They're not even first team players, but they are players that you could be looking at tomorrow night, and you could be playing Lindelof and Twansebi and giving Martinez a rest. You could be playing Brandon Williams and giving Delo a rest. You could be playing Van der Beek and giving Christian Eriksen a rest. So it's massively frustrating when your bench players who are on good money aren't fit. Now, all 4 of those players may legitimately have an injury, but it's massively coincidental that 4 players that really should be being used can't be used because they've got long-term injuries. And why have they got long-term injuries? Like, what happened? And why? And how long? You know, it is weird and it's massively frustrating. So that's from Yosh. And look, he was also asked about Rashford because somebody thought Rashford had picked up a knock against Everton. He said Rashford will train today. So he was asked about squad options, and I suppose it feeds into that injury thing there. Look, I'll be honest, I'm massively worried about United. We've already heard that we might not buy in January. And I thought that we came into this season with weak areas in that team in relation to squad depth. I don't think we've got massive options up front. I don't think we've got massive options at centre-back. And I don't think, right back's really, really weak. We've only really got Delo. And I don't think we've really got any replacement for Eriksen either. You can play Fred, you can play McTominay, but they're not Christian Eriksen. So I do think we are a little bit thin in certain areas but Eric said this. He said, look, all clubs have got the same problem. In all positions, we've got double. So he was eager to play down the fact that. And I understand why. You don't want to publicly start saying, yeah, I'm worried about my squad. You've got to put a positive out there. But have we got double in all positions? Yes, we have at left back. We've got Malacia and Shaw. At goalkeeper, I suppose you've got De Gea and Dubravka. Centre backs, if Maguire's fit, you've got Varane, Maguire, Lindelof and Martinez. So he's right there. Right back, we don't really have double positions. Whether he'd pick Wan-Bissaka even if he was fit. So right back's a concern. Midfield, as I said, you've got options, but it's not just about having 2 people in each position. If Eriksen gets injured, we don't have a player who can do what Eriksen does, and the same with Bruno. So they are positions that we haven't really got 2 people in. Ronaldo and Martial, but Martial's never fit. Rashford and Sancho, Anthony and Alanga. So it's not. You can't say he's lying. We do have double cover in each position, but it's not great cover in some areas is what I would say. I can see Donny leaving in January along with Wan-Bissaka, says Adam. And afternoon from Holland, Mark, in your opinion, is Ten Hag... Yeah, I'm not answering that, Mark. I'm not talking about that. You may want to throw up. Mark's a big fan of Erik Ten Hag, and not just for his coaching ability, for his visual sexual ability. That's from Mark there. I think Cody Gakpo, Dumfries and Jude Bellingham or De Jong would be the best signings we can do, says Charbel. And I think we should give Ethan Laird a chance, says Dashing. Is he not on loan, though? Is Ethan Laird on loan? I don't know. And Ethio says, the next 3 games are hard for United. And that's exactly where I was going to go next. Because, so, he was asked about the game tomorrow and whether it's a chance to rotate or, you go for the result. And he said, you got to go all out. This is Erik Ten Hag's words. You got to go all out for victory. We want to be number 1 in the group. It's a European game, so rotation probably not going to happen because he wants to go all out for victory. But the problem we're going to have, we might not have actually, but the problem we might have is that if Martial's out and he's out for a Sunday and Maguire's out, and obviously we know Van der Beek's out and Wan-Bissaka's out, you start to get into a position where Ronaldo's going to have to play both those games. Delo's going to have to play both those games. Are Eriksen and Bruno playing both those games again? Because if you take Eriksen or Bruno out, we're not going to surely try Fred or McTominay in that position. So is Casemiro playing both those games? And then we've got Spurs on Wednesday. We've got 3 games in 6 days. Are we going to play the same players in every one of those games? Is Eriksen playing 3 games in 6 days? Is Ronaldo playing is Delo playing 3 games in 6 days? And that's what's starting to worry me here, because we can all say, oh yeah, we've got 2 players in each position, but we don't. Martial's not fit. So it could become a bit of a problem for Manchester United because we're just not able to rotate. And I think Ten Hag would like to rotate tomorrow night, but how does he rotate tomorrow night? You know, so look, I think we definitely cannot afford any more injuries. We just can't. And Fred says we've actually got a game next Saturday. We've got a game on the Saturday as well. So yeah, we're playing tomorrow night against Omonia. Then on Sunday afternoon we're playing Newcastle. Then on Wednesday night we're playing Spurs. Then on the Saturday evening we're playing Chelsea. So we've got 4 games in 9 days or 10 days, but certainly 3 in 6. It's going to get very difficult if we... And of course, the problem is you're more likely to pick up injuries when you're playing 3 games in 6 days. So I genuinely do not think we've got much squad depth. I really don't. And I think I think that a better question to ask Erik ten Hag in a press conference would be, the season is ridiculous, Eric. There's games all over the place. Then you have the World Cup, and then it's going to be even worse after Christmas. Are you in a position, is a team at an advantage when they've got money to spend in January and they've got a big squad? And how do you think Manchester United factor into that? Because I think that teams like Newcastle and Chelsea are going to spend money in January, and teams like Manchester City have got a big squad. Maybe Arsenal are going to spend some money in January. But I look at Man United, if we don't spend in January, I don't think we've got a very deep squad. I really don't. I don't think we've got a deep squad. And I think that it's inevitable that some teams are going to start struggling with injury. And we might be one of those teams, if we're not already. If ever there was a time to give Garnacho a go, it would be this game. Gives Rashford or Anthony a break too, says Aram. Well, yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. I think that we've got to start using Alanga, Garnacho, Pellistri. I think we've got to start using those sort of players because we need to find fresh legs from somewhere. Otherwise, we're going to end up in problems, I think. Martin says, can you please be positive just for once? Sometimes when you get attracted to shit comments, I mean, I'm not being positive, Martin. I'm actually concerned that our season could get derailed by the lack of options that we've got. And what worries me is that Wan-Bissaka should have been allowed to go in the summer, and we should have bought a right back, and we didn't do it. Maybe we should have solved other things as well. It's massively disappointing when you've got Wan-Bissaka, Brandon Williams, Axel Swansebi and Donny van der Beek all injured, because they would be rotational players that would give Christian Eriksen a rest, Delot a rest. You know, these players do need a bit of rotation and they're not getting it. And then what happens if Delot gets injured or Eriksen gets injured because they've been overplayed? Mark, what do you think of Ricky's comments saying that Casemiro was not an upgrade or downgrade on McTominay? Casemiro to me is Edgar. Well, I haven't heard Ricky say that, but Casemiro is one of the best CDMs in the world, and Scott McTominay definitely isn't. Mark, look, at the end of the day, I'm not being negative, by the way. I've got a really bad sore throat, so that's probably why I'm coming across as a bit moody. Anyway, what else was he asked? He was asked about rotation. We've done all up for victory. We've done that one. He was asked about Eriksen. He was asked about Eriksen and whether he needs to game manage Eriksen. And he said, look, all my players need to be game managed. It's not just Christian Eriksen. All my players need to be game managed. But are we going to see that? I mean, I think that when I did the preview yesterday, tomorrow night, really, Old Trafford against that side, I wouldn't be playing Christian Eriksen. Really, I wouldn't. I'd be giving him the night off. But how's he going to game manage Christian Eriksen? Could you play Fred in that position next to Casemiro, or could you play Fred and McTominay and give Casemiro and Eriksen a break? But then Bruno will play. It's really difficult to game manage when you haven't really got. When Eric says that he's got 2 players in each position, you need 2 players that are similar in each position. So if you've got Lisandro Martinez as a centre-back, and then you bring Harry Maguire in, they're two very different centre-backs that are going to make you play in a different way. If you swap Eriksen for Fred, you're going to get a very different player. And ultimately, it's not about rotating for the sake of it. You want the team to play the same way. And I think that's where it's going to take some time for Ten Hag to be in a situation where if Eriksen's out the team, he brings somebody in who can play like that as well. I think we will spend in January if we have an injury crisis, says Mikael Roach. So yeah, look, he was also asked about, this was quite interesting. Actually. You know, Ronaldo got the charge from the FA a couple of weeks ago. We spoke about it. So basically, after the Everton game in April, he whacked the phone out of a Everton fan's hand, and he actually ended up with a police caution for it. And then the FA, in their infinite wisdom, a couple of weeks ago, charged him about it. And he had until Monday, 2 days ago, to respond to it. So Erik Ten Hag was asked about what the response had been. And he said, look, we will talk about it, but to let you know, Ronaldo will not be accepting the charge. So it looks like there's going to be an appeal in relation to that, which is a good thing, really, because the FA have taken so bloody long to do it. But, of course, the importance of that is that could easily lead to a match ban. So I think if you think about it as well, if he'd accepted the charge on Monday, the FA might have banned him for the Newcastle game when we don't have Martial. So I wouldn't accept the charge anyway, but I suppose it's a good thing. Ronaldo bought the boy an iPhone as well, says Leslie Lee. Donny will be fine, says David, and the players on the injury list, they're all young, so they will have time to come back. Lack of game time rotation can lead to injuries in their body. Got to get used to play games. Okay, David, don't really know what you're talking about there, but thank you very much. Talking about injury, though, he was asked about Anthony Martial, and I think this was a good question because we all would ask this question of Erik Ten Hag. So he was asked about Anthony Martial, and he was asked about how Anthony Martial is doing and how he feels with all these injuries. And he said, look, it's really disappointing for him. It's disappointing for us as well. When he's played for us, he's done really well. On Saturday, he pressed really well, and he got an assist for Anthony. Yeah. So look, he said that he's spoken to Martial about it, but the problem is, and I'll repeat myself here, the problem is that Martial, to me, I don't know what you think, Martial to me is now Cavani, in the sense that I just do not trust Martial in relation to if he scored a hat-trick against Newcastle at the weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if on the Tuesday Erik Ten Hag was saying that he's out injured for a month because he's done something in training. I think Martial at the moment is injury prone. That's what I'm trying to say. Martial is injury prone, and you just never know from 1 minute to the next when he's going to be injured again. I think he's had 3 separate injuries this season already. So, it's a difficult one to solve because Martial himself did an interview a few weeks ago saying that, he picked up a lot of injuries under Solskjaer because he was played when he was injured. But that might have a knock-on effect for the rest of his career. If he's been played when he was injured, he might have hit some wear and tear in his legs because of that he'll never really get back from. So the issue with Martial now is, and I will say this, and I think most of you were thinking it anyway, is Martial just going to be injury prone for the rest of his career? In which case, we're stuck with a very expensive problem. Or is he actually going to get past all these injuries and stay fit? I've got to be honest. I mean, it's really difficult to... I'm just going to do it here. Anthony Martial injury history. So he's 26 now. It'll be 27 in December. So he's not young anymore. And over the last year, this is what he's had over the last year. He's had October. So a year ago, he had fitness issues that kept him out for 2 weeks. Then in December, he had a knee injury that kept him out for 10 days. Then in February, he had a muscle injury that kept him out for 2 weeks. Then in July, he had a hamstring injury that's kept him out till August the 18th. Then he came back and had an Achilles injury. And then now he's got a hip injury. So in the space of, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 separate injuries in the last 12 months. And they're all different things. So I think you've got to say that with Martial, it's a big, big concern. And of course, Manchester United are not going to put it out there that he's injury prone because they'll never get rid of him. But he's, he's in a position now where he, unless he can come back and stay fit for 6-7 months. I mean, there's the question. Do you think if Martial gets back fit, he's going to stay injury-free for even a month? And that's the problem. Alice says, I really don't understand why we have so many injury-prone players. Do you think it's a scouting problem or coaching problem? I don't know, Alice. I think it's... I think United have had this problem for a while now. I don't know whether it's our fitness and conditioning. I don't know whether it's the grass at Carrington might be too soft. I don't know. But we've picked up a lot of injuries for a long time now. So it is an issue. But look, Martial is a player that I've always liked. I know he's a bit of a divider, but he's a player I've always liked. He can be inconsistent, but I think he's a good player, and I think Ten Hag can get a lot out of him. But he can't get a lot out of him. He's injured, and they will know the truth. They will know the situation with Martial. They will know whether he's just been unlucky or whether he is actually injury prone. We're just going to have to wait and see. Thoughts on Gakpo, Mark? I have a feeling he's the answer to our United future, says Mitran. Well, I would take him at Manchester United because I think it's the profile of player that we should be bringing in, and I think we need more options up front at the moment. Funnily enough, he was asked. Eric Ten Hag was also asked about Cristiano Ronaldo and whether he is now getting back to being an important asset to the team, and he said, "Well, ultimately, basically, his answer was that if you don't have a pre-season, you're always playing catch up." And I think that with Ronaldo, we're probably only just starting to see a sharp and ready Ronaldo in the last couple of games. I think it's taken that long for him to get match sharp. And I think we saw against Everton he was match sharp. But, Ten Hag was quite open about the fact that what he demands and what he expects. And I just don't think Ronaldo's been there. Fitness-wise until now. Mark, we can't blame him for the injuries. Ollie played him while injured, says Mikael Roach. Oh, mate, come on, let's grow up. I don't think anybody's blaming Anthony Martial for being injury prone. You can't blame Phil Jones for being injury prone. Nobody, unless they're faking it, can help it. But the reality is, it's not. Well, quite simply, if he is injury prone, he's no use to us. It's not a blame thing, is it? Nobody's saying, well, it's his own fault he's injured. Like, you're either an injury prone person or you're not. I'm sure you've all played football with people who, some people, like Ronaldo never seems to get injured throughout his whole career. That's why he's scored 700 bloody goals. Martial's never going to score 700 career goals because he's injured a lot. So some people are more prone to injury than others. So... But yeah, look, maybe Solskjaer had a massive part as to why Martial has become injury prone. The secondary concern to that is that we know Rashford was played a lot with injury as well. What if Rashford ends up being like Martial? Because Rashford's already had an injury, hasn't he, this season? I'm pretty sure. I think Rashford did. Oh yeah, he did. He had it over the international break. So, it might not just be Martial who becomes injury prone. Rashford could be as well. So yeah, we've got to look after our players better, and I think Ten Hag's very good at that. But obviously, he can't do anything about players that have been mismanaged in the past, and we do seem to have a collection of players that do get injured a lot. And what can we do about that? But look, Ronaldo's going to be very important for Ten Hag over the next couple of weeks if Martial is out, and but beyond that, we'll just have to wait and see. Also, I think it happens with Martial quite a lot where He's not training today. We'll have to see about Sunday. Now does that mean there's a chance he's back on Sunday, or is he actually going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks? Because if Martial's out, that means you've got to use Ronaldo against Newcastle, Spurs and Chelsea, which is 3 games in 6 days again, as well as tomorrow. So, yeah, the options are... The reason I talk about it a lot is because I think Ten Hag has got such a difficult job already, which will be made even more difficult if he's having to play decent opposition with limited opportunity to rotate and tired players as well. We've only been back from the international break, 1 or 2 weeks, and already I sense that our team is quite fatigued, and we need to try and freshen it up. But it's very difficult to freshen it up. And Donny's disappointing as well, by the way. If Donny van de Beek had been fit this month, he could start instead of Bruno. He could start instead of Eriksen. He's the player that rotates those two because he's more attack-minded. But obviously we can't do that either because now he's a long-term injury problem. And we need to know what these injuries are as well. We need to know what these injuries are and how long they're going to be out for. Because in the case of Wan-Bissaka and Donny van de Beek, their injuries have been caused in training. They've not played any games to get injured, so they must have done it in training. Ronaldo always does well against Spurs, says Cobra. And how are you feeling, Mark? Says Sense. I'm not feeling that great today. Not feeling that great. Not so bad that I can't do these, but yeah, I'm not feeling that great today. It's probably bloody COVID again, you know. Many overrated players still in the team when offload Deadwood. I think that Etio, I'm quite realistic about United. I don't think we're going to get top 4 this year, and if we do get top 4, it'll be a nice bonus. I just don't think that. I was having this chat yesterday with Beth and Charlie because we were talking about top 4, and they were saying, you know, they're quite confident United will get top 4, and I said, well, Arsenal are going to get top 4, Man City are going to get top 4, Chelsea are doing really well at the moment, and they're going to spend in January, so Chelsea will get top 4, and then you've got Man United, Liverpool, and Spurs for the final spot. Well, Liverpool might not get top 4 this year because they're all over the place and they've got injuries. Spurs are quite consistent. So, look, I think for United to get top 4, it's going to be us or Spurs or Liverpool. So, and I look at, if we don't spend in January and the injury issues and the lack of options to rotate, I can see us, you know, dropping more points this season. And I don't think it will be because we're playing badly. I think it will be because of injury and fatigue and not having enough rotational options. But look, that might be a bit negative to predict that, but I do not think that Ten Hag has everything that he needs to be successful yet at Manchester United. He needs to have 2 right backs. He needs to have rotational players in every position that affords him the luxury of being able to rest players and rotate players and manage their game time. And I think at the moment, as much as he says he has, I genuinely don't think he has got that much flexibility to rotate. Hi Mark, thanks for being a legend. Get well soon, says Alex, thank you. And McTominay suspended for Newcastle, so we'll play 90 tomorrow, says Duncan. Yeah, well, I think you've got to do that, Duncan. I do. I think that McTominay's, you know, McTominay probably will need to start tomorrow because I'm worried about Eriksen, Casemiro, Varane, Martinez, you know, key players. I'm worried about them having to play so many games. And even if you take tomorrow out of the way, you've got Newcastle on the Sunday, Spurs on the Wednesday, and then Chelsea on the Saturday. It's relentless, absolutely relentless. And we need more options, don't we? I will try to be on Twitch today, DW. Probably will be, about 3 o'clock I'll do it. Probably drop the watch along tonight. I don't think I'll do a watch along tonight. But yeah, I'll try and do a bit of Twitch today. I hope we get a loan midfielder and Gakpo in January. We are running Eriksen into the ground, says Sam. Overplaying players can have 2 big issues. 1, when they get tired, their form, or 2, when they get tired, they get injured. So we're not there yet, and I think it's doomsday scenario to start saying that Bruno's going to get injured or Eriksen's going to get injured or anything like that. But they will run more risk of getting injured the more games they play. And, you know, as I said at the start, the disappointing thing is when you've got people like Wan-Bissaka and Donny who are long-term injury problems but haven't played any games. How have they got fucking injured and why are they out for so long? It's frustrating because, you know, I wouldn't mind playing Wan-Bissaka tomorrow night to give Delo a game off. I know Ten Hag probably doesn't rate Wan-Bissaka, but I mean Wan-Bissaka against Omonia FC at Old Trafford, it's not gonna go. It's the perfect game to give Delo a rest, isn't it? And the same with Donny to give Eriksen a rest, but neither of those two players are there, and you've got every right to be frustrated with that because they've probably got genuine injuries. But you know, you're not first team players. If you want to be first team players, you've got to earn the right to do that. And these are the games where you've got to earn the right to do that. So I can give other people a rest, and you're not fit to do it. It's frustrating. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. And I will speak to you a little bit later on. I will be on Twitch at 3 o'clock. And